right? It's 5:29. So I'm gonna wait another minute. Is everybody on? Do we have Kendra?
Yep, Kendra's here. She got the link, so she
Great.
worked. Steve is in transit, by the way. He was at a seminar till 5 o'clock, so he should be about 15 minutes late or a little longer.
Okay. All right, so now I can see everybody. Okay, so Lily's on, it looks like. Hi, Lily. Welcome. Looks like Jeff's on now. I see Kendra without a video.
Thank you. Let me know if you need anything.
Thanks, Lily. Kendra, I see you without video. Jeff, I see you without video. Virginia, I see you.
We have a
Ken-
phone caller in here. I'm not sure who this is on the phone.
Sorry. I had to put the dog out.
There's Jeff. I see you now. You're on video, Jeff.
Can I ask
It's
who's on
me,
the?
Steve.
Oh, hi,
Steve.
Steve. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Okay, so it looks like we have everybody here, so I am going to begin the meeting. Welcome, everybody. It's 5:30 on my glasses. Monday, March 14th at 5:30 p.m. This is the meeting of the Historic Preservation Board. So I'd like to make a motion to open the meeting. Do I need to do that?
Yes,
Yeah, so moved.
okay. Roll call vote. Member Pollock,
Yes.
Member Searle,
Yes,
Member Evans,
Yes.
Member Morrow,
Yes,
Chairperson Coe.
Yes.
Motion
Thank you.
passes.
Okay, thanks. Welcome. Happy Monday, everyone. We have a very short meeting tonight, which makes it nice. So we have a formal application, which is a returning applicant at 62 South Main Street, and that's St. Louis Church. And we also have an information only today, which is 29 West Jefferson Road. Before I get started, does anybody need to recuse themselves for any of these applications or for anything else tonight?
I do not.
Nope.
Member Evans, I do not.
Lisa Cove, I do not.
Ken Morrow, I do not.
Okay, is that everyone?
Yep.
I
Okay.
believe it is.
Great.
I believe we have Ms. Schrecker first. Okay, so Ms. Schrecker will promote, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's Casey Miller that's, no? Oh, Doug Breeze? Okay, I'll promote him as well. That's okay. They're coming in.
Okay, so is,
The applicants are in.
so Sally, is it Sally who's gonna be speaking tonight? On behalf of St. Louis?
We have Sally and Doug Breeze. I'm not sure who's representing the application. They should be able to speak. You're able to speak and talk to the board.
Well, Sally still has her mic muted, but this is Doug Breeze. Just wanted to say hi.
Okay.
I got,
And Sally did have some opening remarks that she wanted to say. Yep, there she is. Can I share my screen while she's speaking?
Okay, good evening, everyone. I just wanted to do a few remarks here. I hope that will set us off in the right direction. In the original design of the church building, the South Main Street facade was virtually windowless, as is shown in the watercolor painting, portion of which was in your materials, and I believe Doug is going to share that screen as well.
Can everybody see that?
I don't,
Not yet.
For some reason, we're not coming up on camera either. Well, you did have the watercolor painting from 1999 in your packet. And as you can see there, the solid, long expanse of brick was originally broken up by planters that spanned the North Chapel and the South Chapel. And they were made of brick, matching the brick of the church. They were capped with a capstone across them. And we estimate that they were 3 feet high. In 2001, the building underwent changes that included adding the stained glass windows that we know now. And since the expanse of the walls was now broken up by the windows, having the planter to break up the wall was no longer needed. Because if you had a planter there and you put plantings in the planter, they would have been in front of, there we go. Let's try that. All right. And there's Doug.
Good.
We now have the video.
Okay. I clicked on it and it seemed to have disappeared a little bit, but go ahead, Sally.
Okay, so the planters were removed as part of the 2001 renovation. But part of one portion of what was part of the planters was the airways that are needed for the operation of the heating system. And those airway components of the planters were left in place, and that's what you see at the front of the building now. Then all of the planting material, all the landscape work was put down at ground level so as not to block the windows. Now, I realize right now the bushes are a little high, but that has to do with a lack of manpower since the whole COVID thing has happened. We've lost 2 summers worth of trimmings. The changes that were made in 2001 were approved by the board that preceded you, the Architectural Review Board. And, you know, we worked collaboratively, and I was pleased to find that our church is actually on the village website, highlighting how renovations can be made in keeping with an original building. So what the parish is now asking is that we take that idea of the original planter wall and that we replicate it and repurpose it for the purpose of holding and screening new ductwork that is necessary in order to upgrade our heating system. We propose to copy the original planter wall, constructing it of brick to match the church, topping it again with the stone cap, such as the original had. Since the wall will be slightly out into the lawn, and there's a sloping lawn there, we propose that the top of the capstone would be 39 inches, which will still keep it below the bottom of the window sill of the windows, because at the point where the wall is, of course, that's the highest part of the grade. And currently the bottom of the windowsill is 37.5 inches. Once this wall is installed, the area will be re-landscaped, basically with the exact same species that are there now, and allowed to grow back. And they would be in front of the wall, just as they are now in front of the wall of the church. So I hope that helps set the basis, and happy to take questions from you or.
Sally, this is Virginia Searle.
Yes.
I'm looking at the elevation that is part old blueprint and part computer graphic. I'm sorry, I have it enlarged so much so that I can see it. I don't know the sheet number. You just said that the new wall is going to be 39 inches high, but the drawing says 3 feet 9 inches. Can that be clarified for us, please?
Sure, Doug, can you answer that?
Yeah, she did, I believe she did say 3'9", and then later said 37.5 inches to the bottom of the windowsill.
The first one I heard is 39 inches. But
Okay,
I just,
no, it is
just
3'9".
because- okay, I just want clarification,
Oh.
that's all.
Sure,
I'm sorry. Okay, 3'9" is the correct, Doug?
correct.
What is the material of the RTU that's going to be placed on the concrete pad that's shown in gray on that same drawing? What is
The material is just a galvanized metal that is painted with factory color, and then a living fence will disguise it.
Is there a reason, a functional reason, pertaining to the unit itself, why that unit could not be enclosed in a brick enclosure, the same as the wall that's being put up?
It certainly could be. We discussed this with planning and zoning, and back in 2000, and again now, we felt that the living wall was more discreet and more pleasant to the eye, more, appealing than having a brick, either a brick wall or a stockade. I do know that the Presbyterian Church appears to have a air conditioning unit in their front yard, and it's behind a stockade, and it looks like it's behind a stockade.
I'm familiar with that. I was the architect on the project when that church was rebuilt after the fire. I know exactly what's there. And it's
Yeah.
tucked around the corner of the building in a parking lot, adjacent to a parking lot. They have more mechanical equipment on the north side of the church as well. And that is
That's the one
also enclosed as was required at the time
Right.
by village ordinance.
Right. So the planning board agreed that the living wall, the arborvitae plantings, were acceptable.
Okay, so
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
that's okay. Go ahead, Kendra.
To clarify, to follow up with that, and I guess this is more directed at Jeff, because we don't obviously have control over landscaping, but I do believe when we characterize it as a living wall versus a brick wall, do we have any say in that term?
Well, that's got site plan approval and a site plan requirement geared to it, so that it will have to be there. It's not going to be, it cannot be taken down. I'm not going to, at the discretion of the church. That is now an approved site plan. So that wall of evergreens will be there.
I just
So,
wanted to make sure that was a guarantee. I just walked the site about an hour
Yes.
ago and wanted to make sure, because I would have to agree that I would prefer a living wall to remain at the front of the church as opposed to brick covering. But if we couldn't guarantee that that living wall would remain, I certainly don't want to look at the metal RTU. So thanks for the clarity.
Steve is on the call, but he can confirm that is a requirement of site plan. It was my understanding it is, but Steve can actually tell you that it's a requirement of site plan.
That would not, this is Virginia again, that would not necessarily preclude a requirement by the preservation board for a structural wall between the unit and the arborvitae. My concern is that it has been the policy of the HPB, as far as I know, to consider vegetation to be not a permanent screen. And trees and shrubs and plants can die or suffer insect infestation at any time. And that unit looks significantly unattractive for a front yard. And if the plantings were to go, not that the church would take them down, but for other reasons, if the plantings were lost, then that would be exposed.
Except that this is not something that can go away at the discretion of the church.
I understand that, Jeff.
No.
Okay. Years
So-
ago, every viburnum bush in almost the entire county and beyond were
Oh,
killed
my God.
because of viburnum beetles. And there are other reasons why that vegetation might disappear that are not related to anything the church would want to do.
Maybe I said it incorrectly. There will have to be a living wall there. It's part of site plan approval.
Okay, so if the trees, if the arborvitae die, they
It
will
has
need
to-
to be replaced immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
All right,
This is Lisa Kolb. I'm in agreement with Ginny. I'm sorry, I just can't. That structure is so close to the front of the building and it's really unsightly. I love the wall, that's really pretty, but I agree. If there's any way that we can make that piece brick and then put the arborvitae in front of that, I would feel much more comfortable. Because I just can't depend on those arborvitae to stay living for the existence of the church. I don't, and I don't know how big you're planting them when they come in. Are they going to cover that whole wall, or are you going to plant them small so that they grow? I really feel that it needs to be brick to match that wall. It's so close to the street that it's significant. It's going to make a significant impact on the face of that building.
Okay, and this is Steve. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was curious. Can you see the unit that's there now?
Steve, right now the trees are doing quite well, and I don't know what's going to happen when they don't. I'm just telling you, right now,
But
no.
if they don't,
In
it
20 years,
is a requirement by the site plan that they are there. There is
But
no wall there now. You cannot see the unit, and it is a requirement by an approved site plan that those trees have to be there. If they died, they would have to replace them.
But we've never used vegetation as a primary source to cover something this substantial on a face of a building that's significant in the center of our village that can practically be touched from somebody who's walking on the sidewalk. It's quite close to the sidewalk. So I'm saying in this circumstance, I feel uncomfortable to have this large piece of whatever it is sitting there being shielded by arborvitae when it really could and should be brick. That's all I'm saying.
So I agree with you, Lisa. We have never used, except when I'm going to have to condition this statement, but generally we don't use landscaping to screen architectural features. However, in all of those cases, there has not been an approved site plan. That is the distinction between where we aren't able to use landscaping and screening, and where, if the board chooses, I'm not telling the board what to do, but if the board chooses with an approved site plan, it is possible to rely on the screening. That really is my whole point.
So this is Lisa again. What we are deciding on right now is a significant permanent structure, right? This is a permanent structure. This brick wall is a permanent structure. And I don't know why we would stop at that instead of using the whole project to be an appropriate permanent structure. Is it a significant cost to the church? I mean, why are we leaving this eyesore to me and hope that the vegetation?
You are.
I would argue that we are not precluding or removing the decision made by the PZBA, but we are adding to that decision based on the requirements of our charge. Should we choose to require the addition of the wall be extended? And I would be fine if it's only on two sides, if it's only on the street side and the driveway side, so that the screening is only going to screen it on the street side, presumably, and it'll still be visible from the driveway side. So it's my opinion that extending the wall so that the west side and the south side of the unit are also behind a brick wall, and that the vegetative wall, the living wall that is required by their site plan, still be in place. It's belt and suspenders.
have two questions. And I guess the first question is for Doug, because I hear the concerns and wanting to make it, wanting to cover this ugly unit. However, how tall will that brick wall have to be to cover the RTU?
The RTU is 77 inches high, which is
Correct.
6 feet, 7 inches.
Right. And so I guess
5
wonder
inches.
what a brick blockade in front of our church is going to look like as well. Because so that was the first question, was just how tall. So taller than me. As a permanent structure in front of the church, I have concerns about the way that will look. I like the idea of the knee wall. I think that will fit right in with the current architecture. I worry about the blockade height of the brick enclosure. And if we are able to enforce, and I guess that's my question for Steve, at what point are you able to say, oh, sorry, St. Louis, that is not covering the structure, and then you can go in and enforce that the living wall be repaired, replaced, maintained?
The living wall would be there regardless of the brick wall, Kendra.
Thank you. But Steve, what is the enforcement for the living wall?
The enforcement is the site plan, the approved site plan that they would have, that unit has to be covered by vegetation, is in the site plan. An approved site plan, they would be in violation of an approved site plan and they would be cited. And the other thing to take into account, as somebody asked, you're talking about a sizable brick wall. On two sides of that, you are talking many thousands of dollars to put in a footer and and be able to support a brick wall that's almost 7 foot tall going around a corner. Many thousands of dollars.
Cost is not something that we consider in our decision-making. Appropriateness and compatibility is what we are charged with, and following our guidelines and the Secretary of the Interior standards. Issues of cost, I'm just
saying you're having a
explaining
living
to
wall
Kendra
and
because she's new to the board.
I know, but saying you're still having a living wall and a brick wall, you're creating two blockades.
Well, no, we're not. We're just exchanging one material for another. There's two blockades anyways, Steve. All right, let's go back
No,
first.
he's saying you
No.
still have to have the living wall. Even if you put up a brick wall, you still have to have a living wall.
I agree.
So now
So
you're
they're having blockades. They're having the one that they're proposing and a living wall, or the one that we're asking, which is the brick and a living wall. So it's the same thing. We're just substituting materials. Let me go back to Kendra for a second, because this is a concern in the village in general. Kendra, I really like the fact that you said how much can we enforce this living wall? And we can enforce this like we enforce everything else in the village. And we have, Steve does due diligence and does a great job in trying to get to everything that needs to be enforced, but he's only one person. And there are things that we try to enforce and it takes time. And so it's not always a sure thing that if those arborvitae die, that St. Louis can get somebody in there and to get them planted within a month or two. So that's my concern, is that just because it's enforced doesn't mean that it happens overnight. And there's lots of things. I mean, I know that there's open applications right now that we have that people have not done what we've asked them to do. And it's been, 7 months. So
that was my question, Lisa, was truly not just that it can be enforced because it's on a site plan, but what that process would look like and how long it would take. That is what I was trying to get the answer.
Citations, and people decide whether they're going to pay them or not. And, it's not a sure win. It's like, we do what we can. Let me
almost every municipality in every state, in every city, in every community has a difficult time with enforcement. It's one of the most difficult issues that any municipality needs to deal with, is enforcement of approved everything.
Right. So Sally, can I go back to you for a second? What do you think about doing a brick wall, at least on the two sides, which are a public view?
Well, it raises several concerns. One is spacing. Is there enough space to put a brick wall, which in order for it not to fall over, how thick does it have to be? How thick does that foundation have to be? Is there enough space between the space that the unit's going to take up and the wall, and allowing 2 to 3 feet for healthy vegetation? So, I mean, that is something we would have to look at very closely.
Okay.
I, of course, don't want to spend money that I don't have to spend in terms of building the wall. It would just require us to go back, and then we would also have to go back to planning and zoning, because then we would have to have a new site plan approval with another structure. And because it's a structure, we would then need to have our variance approved and revised again, which now we're talking another month or 2 months for that process to happen. So there's a lot of factors going into it. I would like to say that for over 40 years, we have maintained the bushes around the unit, both prior to the renovation in 2000. And these bushes are now 20 years old because they were put in at the time of the 2001. You know, I think we try to be a good citizen, and we certainly know that that's our front yard. And we certainly have enough parishioners who would not want to be embarrassed by having a piece of machinery showing. I mean, I understand Virginia's point. You know, we could have a windstorm or an ice storm, and arborvitae and ice do not get along. They can be broken over. But in the long run, and then if we had a brick wall, would there even be a point to having it fully enclosed, or could it be more of a backdrop with more spacing between the arborvitae? So it opens all kinds of questions that would have to be regurgitated.
Sally, can I ask you right now, behind the arborvitae, I should know this because I did go on site and see it. Is there anything that's shielding that unit that's there now?
No, it's just the arborvitae.
Okay, so how was that ever approved? You didn't have to have a shield, or you didn't have to have a barrier?
We did not have to have a wall, was not required in 2000, and a wall had not been required prior to that. It was what had been used was the arborvitae. This is the second set of arborvitae. That unit has been there since the 1960s. That's why it needs to be replaced.
So Jeff, maybe you could help me. Did something change since that unit was put in there and the arborvitaes were there and there's no shield? I mean, why now are we needing to do that when they didn't do it before?
I'm confused about your question.
Well, she says that there's no barrier behind those arborvitae that is blocking that unit. So, but now she's coming and we have to have a barrier there.
No,
The barrier is
sorry.
the living wall.
So that was a site plan requirement. And I think that became a site plan requirement because that's what's there now. I'm only guessing about that. But I'm guessing that it would be better to have that screened in some way than not screened in some way. And that was probably the conclusion that was drawn in 2000. That an appropriate screening would be those arborvitae instead of a solid brick wall. I'm guessing. Without looking at the minutes, I'm not sure.
I would guess and strongly believe that screening of those mechanical units was required at that time, because when the Presbyterian Church burned and the new equipment went in, screening was a requirement. And that, I believe, was it might have been in 2001 or 2.
Well, I think screening is still happening. It's just a living screen as opposed to a permanent structure. And I guess I'd be curious to hear from Ken and Jeff. I know kind of the three of us have been talking. I'm curious where you both stand at this point.
Can I talk for another second?
Yep.
I'm confused about, I'm still a little confused about Lisa's question, because it was screened then by the arborvitae, which are now still there. And it's being screened now by arborvitae. There's really not a difference in treatment between then and now. In terms of the planning board approval. There is one difference, I think, between then and now. And then it was probably the then APRB that had control of screening of mechanicals. And now screening, if there is a site plan, screening is done by the planning board, who in this case have chosen to remain essentially with the arborvitaes, which is probably what the APRB did back in 2000. This is all a little bit of a speculation without having meeting minutes to look at, but I think that's probably what happened.
Right, that's kind of what I'm saying. What changed? What changed? Why has that been sitting there without any other screen besides?
No, nothing changed. That was my point. It was screened then, it's screened now.
So you're saying that back in 2000, the zoning had the say
No.
as to screen?
Vice versa. Back in 2000, it would have been the APRB. But now
So
with the new zoning code change, if there is a site plan, the planning board handles screening.
So I guess my question is, I would be interested to see if we could pull up the APRB notes from 2000 and see what they had thought about the screening then, and why they felt that that was an appropriate screening measure to allow that to just be screened by arborvitae, I guess.
Well, back then, the ordinance did indicate that vegetative screening was an appropriate screening material for outside equipment.
And now it's changed?
It's not changed. The HPB's jurisdiction to make that call is removed. And I don't think that provision's in the code anymore, but implicit in the planning site plan section is the use of vegetation to screen.
I have a question for Mr. Breeze. Am I saying your name right? Breeze?
You are, just like the wind with an S.
Okay. Is there a difference in the size of the existing unit and the proposed unit?
Yes, there's an obvious size difference. It
What is
is
that?
definitely taller. We are indicating that it's 31 inches taller than the old unit.
Okay.
The length of the unit is probably, I want to say, 3 times longer than the old unit.
Yeah.
Width is about the same. And the only thing I wanted to go back to, because you had a question as far as whether or not if a wall along with any sort of vegetation that would be outside of the wall on the driveway side, there is requirements by the manufacturer that there is a 4-foot maintenance clearance to the unit. So the wall would have to be 4 feet away from the unit. It would not be able to get pushed up against the unit.
And is that all 4 sides? 4 feet on all 4 sides?
4 feet on 3 sides and then 8 feet on the back side, which is more towards the ramp going to one of the entrances. Plenty of room back there for that.
I have a question on the units themselves, and we seem to be talking about, their profile. Is there any way that this profile can be lowered by I assume it's at the grade level now, that this could be lower in that grade and still have that clearance?
We did look at that. The zoning board, the planning zoning board looked at that and asked if we could lower the ductwork as well as the air handler. And unfortunately, there is 6 inches or a 6-inch storm drain that runs through there. So we would be upsetting further utilities underneath.
Okay, the other question I have, this is a little off base, but given the magnitude, the increasing size of this, is the relative sound still going to be low? I assume this hasn't bothered anybody to date.
we did discuss that at the planning zoning board. There is not even a noticeable difference on the sound. It may be 3 decibels more. According to all the recordings that we had a sound engineer go out and take readings of the existing conditions. So sound should not be a factor.
Sound is
That
outside
was-
our
that was-
purview though, right?
That was
Sorry?
thoroughly vetted through the planning board. The was 3 decibel increase and a whisper is 30 decibels.
No, okay.
Ken Morrow, do you have any questions or comments on this application?
No, I don't.
Do you have any, you have no comments at all? You like it? You don't like it? What do you think?
I
Any,
tend to be more with the brick wall viewpoint.
does anybody else have any comments or questions? Do you have enough information to take this to vote?
I do.
So we would take the vote with the application as is, meaning that the brick wall, the knee-high brick wall, and then the other material for the large piece of equipment, correct? Just
Well,
as fitted,
It'll be whatever the motion is.
yes.
Whoever makes the motion, it'll be what the motion is that we vote on.
So are you saying, Lisa, that it's a knee-high brick wall and the arborvitae and vegetation, in other words?
No, it's really the knee-high brick wall, and then that other very large, what's the material?
It's an air handling unit.
Mechanical
Right.
unit.
What's the material that we're covering?
We're
It's
not
not
covering it,
metal.
it's just what it comes with, right? It's just the outside of the mechanical unit.
Correct, metal.
Oh, okay, so there's no cover.
There's
Okay,
no
because-
cover. It's just this piece of, it's like the furnace in our basement, like 3 times the
Okay,
size.
because I'm looking at this and it almost looks like it's this solid cover, but that's just the actual machine itself.
Yes,
That's
that's in a
That's just
rendering.
a graphic.
Okay,
That's a
So it's-
rendering.
so it's just flat and it's that gray color. It's just a flat piece of machinery. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, because I don't know what that machinery looks like, which actually would be another question.
It's
All right.
basically a
I have
box.
a question.
So it
I have a
doesn't have
question. Is
air vents or anything on the sides of it?
No, that is facing internal. I'm sorry about my mic here, but it's facing internal to the property, so it's not facing the road.
It's facing back away from the road, right?
Right, parallel to the road is where the outside air intakes are.
Hmm.
Oh, wait, it's the outflow is going towards the brick wall to the center of the church. Correct?
But
The
it's not
ductwork, the ductwork, there's 2 ducts and they go from the unit towards the church. They will be behind the knee wall.
Right, and then is there another air circulation that goes, back towards the ramp away from the street?
No,
Doug,
No.
the air intake is on the street side, is it not?
it's on the street side and it's facing the front of the church. So it does not, the outside air intake does not point at the main
Okay,
street.
so
It does
the
not point at
outflow and the intake both point towards the front of the church parallel to the street.
The outflow is actually through an existing areaway that's on the left side of the church, the south side. That's all existing. It's got a grate over the areaway.
So this photo that you've submitted to us,
Yes.
this unit is to scale, right? To exactly to
is.
scale.
Yep.
And it looks just like this. It's completely solid, this gray color. There's no holes, there's no openings, there's no grates, there's no, it's completely solid, just like this.
It's flat if you're looking straight on, yes.
What is the elevation of that drawing as it is here? Is that at eye level or a little, looks like it's a little higher,
No, it's at eye level.
eye level?
And that
I-
should also mimic this here, which is straight on with the blueprint shot. So there are smaller little things that stick out the top by 2 inches. So, you know,
I guess I just still have to question the appropriateness of a 6 to 7 foot brick wall in front of our beautiful church. I think no one in the village even knows that the current unit is there because the church has done such a good job maintaining the living wall. I think a living wall fits with the structure and is much more, it's much more with our ideals and what we're trying to pursue. So I know we're about to vote, and I do question the appropriateness of a very high brick wall. And I wonder if that's going to encroach on the walkway, and in general, putting in a permanent structure like that, I think it's going to take away from the beauty of the church. So I'm very much in support of the living wall without a brick wall behind it, where in fact, the argument could be made then, well, you made us put in the wall, let's minimize the landscaping. I think they've done a beautiful job, and I'd like to see it look as much the same as it does, as it can, to what it is now.
So let me ask you this, as far as what our
Okay.
chart, and I'm still kind of confused, and I should probably see if I could find this in writing. Does the HPB consider a living wall as appropriate screening? That's really what needs to be asked here. Is it in our
The
guidelines?
answer is, in this case, you may, because it is a requirement of site plan. If it was not a requirement of site plan and we had no means of enforcement for it, then no.
Okay,
But
that
this is a different case.
And that's my whole question or point. Is there anything in the HPB rules that says this isn't allowable?
well, like Steve, or like Jeff just said, Steve, because of the site plan, that's what allows this. But if it wasn't in the site plan, yes, it would not be an appropriate means of screening. So in this case is different. So in the future, we can't just expect that vegetation is going to be an appropriate screening mechanism for other projects. But because we've got the site plan, that is what allows us to use this as an approved screening. Does that make sense?
And in the future, then,
Yep,
Lisa,
makes
we would
sense.
want to tell our applicants that if it's not in the site plan, we are unwilling and able to even discuss it. So if you want that to be, if you want a living wall, go back to PZBA and then
Correct.
come to us. That
Correct.
might be something to help our applicants so that it's much more user-friendly.
Yes, thank you, Kendra. All right, so does anybody have anything else they want to say before we make a motion with the applicant?
I have our guidelines open, and I'm looking at the section on mechanical equipment is the general heading. This is on page 111. At the bottom of that page, there are recommendations for screening. So just for the information of all the board members, as well as the applicant and their engineer, the first recommendation pertains to roof-mounted and ground-mounted mechanical equipment shall be screened from view or isolated so as not to be visible from any public right-of-way or residential district. Either of the things we're talking about, even both of those things, meet that requirement. If possible, locate roof-mounted equipment that doesn't pertain. Roof screens, again, don't pertain. Last bullet point here is mechanical equipment and open storage areas shall be screened from public streets, alleys, paths, private streets, and abutting lots to a minimum height of 6 feet. When solid screening is used, all materials shall be compatible with the building. And that is the direction that we have in our guidelines.
Okay. So would anybody like to make a motion on this application?
I'd be willing to.
Hey, Jenny?
At a meeting of the HPB on March 14th, 2022, the following motion was made. I move that we approve the application with the following condition. And the condition is that a brick wall to match the proposed brick lower wall be constructed on the street side, which I will call west, and the south side, which I will call the driveway side. And the screening is, the vegetative screen is required by the PZBA, will be planted in front of those walls, on the two side walls. If they want to be concrete block on the inside and brick veneer on the outside, that's fine with me. They don't have to be solid brick.
Why would
Is
you
it
not make a
important-
motion to approve as applied?
Steve, I'm making the motion, and this is not a question that is appropriate for you to ask. I've made the motion, and Lisa will call for a second. If there's no second, then the motion is going to be voted on.
I don't want to argue with you, Lisa, or Virginia, but I have every right, since I've worked with all these applicants, to ask the question, and I don't understand why you would not ask for the original application first, and then if you want to make a modified one, fine.
Steve, because anybody on the board can make a motion that they feel is appropriate, and it doesn't mean it's gonna pass. So we have to have somebody second this. Does anybody feel that they'd like to second this, agrees with Virginia that we want a brick wall on two
I'll
sides?
second it.
Jeff is gonna second, so Jeff agrees that
Yeah,
there should be,
I'd like to ask if we should have a minimum or minimum height set for these trees, for these bushes.
Well, they need to screen the mechanical unit, which is 77 inches high, and the walls should be the same, minimum of 77
but
inches.
Jeff, I think the important piece of this proposal is the fact that Ginny is asking for the brick wall instead of just the vegetation, but an additional brick wall to go on the west and the south side of the unit, which is a change of what the original applicant is proposing. So you do understand that, correct? Jeff,
Yep.
do you understand that? So you are in favor of having half of, or
He has
2/4?
seconded the motion.
Okay, I just want to make sure he understands it.
Is there discussion before the vote? I'm just
Not-
nervous about we've not put any specific parameters on the thickness of a wall. We're saying this without knowing that it fits. We don't have any drawings. That makes me a little uneasy.
Kevin, the thickness of, Kendra, sorry, the thickness of the wall will be determined by the engineer and the structural requirement for whatever masonry they decide for a backup, whether it's concrete backup or brick. The thickness of the wall will be decided based on engineering calculations. Am I correct, Doug?
I believe that's how we would approach this. I did want to ask the question again, as far as what you're reading out of the local code. You said that there was a height restriction of the wall that sounded like it was lower than the unit.
The minimum height is 6 feet. That's the
Okay.
minimum height. So it
Yep.
can't be higher than the unit. I'm
Okay.
sorry, Doug, I'm not reading out of the code. I'm reading out of the design guidelines. Let me read for you the official title of the document. Village of Pittsford Historic and Architectural Design District Building Design Standards.
Okay, it's a standard. Okay.
I guess, Jenny, my question too, though, is if because of the distance that the wall needs to be away from the unit, will that, and will that cause the wall to have to be pushed forward or back? I mean, I don't understand where that would be without us knowing how that would fit.
Well, Mr. Breeze has said that the wall has to be 4 feet on 3 sides and 8 feet on the other. And the 8 feet, I assume, will be on the side that's open,
Correct.
that's on the parking lot side. So the thickness of the wall, no, I don't have, it might be 8 or 10 inches thick, depending on if they used 8-inch block with reinforcing and a 4-inch brick veneer. That would make it 12 inches. It might be a little narrower, less wide than depending on the engineering.
Right, we're making
Are we
assumptions
asking
right
for
now.
to-
Are we really gonna vote without pictures? Because I mean, isn't there another place in the guideline where we can't have a fence in our front yard above a certain standard? 3 feet, 4 feet, I can't remember it off the top of my head. This is a front yard. And we're gonna, it just feels like it's against everything that we've done on every other board meeting I've participated in to now just say we're requiring this wall without any visual whatsoever.
I have a problem with us approving something for which we don't have plans.
Yes,
And this is not the applicant's proposal. If we want to insist on a condition of approval, then it's going to be incumbent on the village to plan this out and prepare a site plan that shows where it is, and architectural plans and elevations that show what it looks like.
All right, I'll be happy to rescind or revoke my motion, and I will make a different motion. I move that we accept the application as presented with no conditions.
I
so,
second that.
so hold on 1 second. So when Ginny does this, that means that if you feel that there should be a brick wall, then you would deny this proposal, and then the applicant would have to come back with something else, correct,
Yes.
Ginny? That's getting it.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
so the people that want to vote to approve this as the application submitting, or the applicant's submitting, then you would vote for this. If you vote against it, that means you're saying that there should be another option that they need to come back to us with. Is that correct, Ginny?
yes. And
All right.
and I think we've made clear what our preference is under
Okay.
the circumstance.
So Ginny's made the motion. Does Ginny have a second?
I
Amanda
second.
seconded.
Okay, so
Okay.
we need a roll call.
Okay. Member Morrow,
Okay, I want to be clear what I'm voting on. This motion is to accept the proposal with just the plants.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
as
voting
is.
no.
Yes,
okay, so no from Member Morrow. Okay,
Mhm.
Member Pollock,
Yes,
Member Searle,
no. Oh, no.
Member
Confusion,
Evans,
no.
Yes.
Chairperson Cove.
I'm gonna have to abstain.
Why?
You have to have a reason to abstain.
Because I just don't know what to do. Oh, gosh. Really, it's on me?
Real quick point of note is that if you reinforce a brick wall, you're gonna come out 9 feet farther from that unit with a wall and trees. 9 feet more than what will be with just the trees, or no, an extra 5 feet more than what would be with just the bushes. So you're
don't-
gonna come out 9 foot from the unit to add a brick wall and arborvitae.
I think that's I would challenge that calculation.
I'm gonna have to
I
say, all right, I'm gonna have to say yes, approve. I'm just afraid that's gonna be too much stuff there. We start doing brick walls, I'm just afraid it's gonna be too much. So I'm gonna say yes, approve.
Motion passes.
Oh, that was a hard one. Okay. So Sally, do your best to make that look pretty.
All right. Thank you all for your thoughts and input, and I realize this has been difficult.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sally.
Okay, so we have an applicant for 29 West Jefferson Road. This is an addition for a second floor dormer. It's information only. Do we have the applicant here, or the almost applicant?
I have Mr. Miller, and he's coming into the meeting right now.
Hi,
There you go.
Hello,
how's it going?
Hello.
you got any aspirin? That's how it's going.
I don't know. We'll see how we all
As
sleep
it,
tonight. But
as it
other
turns
than
out,
that-
I'm fresh out of aspirin, but I have some scotch.
Oh, God.
I'll be right over.
Okay, so tell us, you have a project where you want to add a kind of a matching dormer on the east side of your property, of your second floor.
Yeah, so I'm here because I talked to Steve and I wasn't sure if this was something that you all would approve, so I didn't want to go through all the effort of drawings and this kind of stuff. So basically the materials that you have there, I just did some real quick editing of some pictures I took. What you look at there is the back side of my house. The house is on Jefferson, a few houses away from Sutherland High School. And so the basic idea is we have a dormer on one side of the house, and I just want to mirror that on the other side of the house to give us some living space up in that second area, or that other area on the second floor.
I personally don't have any problem with that.
I agree.
I
don't
agree
either.
too, just it's identical to the other one and not visible from the street.
It's visible
it's
if you,
not.
no, it's visible if you if you walk down the sidewalk and look diagonally across the
Oh,
neighbor's
yeah.
yard, you can see it.
Okay. Yeah. I'm good.
Ken, do you have any comments for the potential applicant?
You know, I see that house all the time on my walking route, and I think it would be hard to see it, so I think it would be okay.
Okay, well, that was easy. So,
Great.
yeah, we look forward to seeing an official application in front of us.
Thank you.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Good work.
Mr. Miller.
Take care.
Thanks, Mr. Have a good one. So we have some meeting minutes to approve. Is that right, Kristen?
Yes.
So,
We thank the board. There's quite a few. Apparently, we had some catch up from even when Marina was there that hadn't gotten this far, so.
Correct. Okay, so.
Wow.
So it looks like we have minutes from Monday, December 13th. And looks like we were all there.
January
Okay.
10th.
We're gonna make a motion to approve these minutes individually. Is that correct?
You have to, yes.
Okay, I
Just
make a motion. Okay, Kendra. did
Sorry,
you-
just an amendment, because I did disclose at that very first meeting that I used to be next door neighbors with Justin. I said I didn't need to recuse, but I did disclose at my first meeting for that reason. And it's not listed
We
there.
can add that. We can add it.
Thanks, Dorothea.
Does anybody have anything that they need to add or change?
Nope.
Okay, I make a motion to approve Monday, December 13th, 2021's meeting minutes. Do I have a second? Kristen, do you want to do roll call?
Sure. Member Pollock,
Yes.
Member Evans,
Yes,
Member Morrow,
Yes,
Member Searle,
Yes,
Chairperson Cove,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, so these next minutes are for Monday, January 10th, 2022. And it looks like, again, everyone was present.
Yeah.
Are there any changes to this, to these minutes?
No.
Okay, I make a motion to approve it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Kristen, do you want to do the roll call?
Sure. Member Searle,
yes,
Member Morrow,
yes,
Member Pollock,
Yes.
Member Evans,
yes,
Chairperson Cove,
Yes.
motion passes.
Great, thank you. We have minutes from Wednesday, February 16th, 2022 at 5:30. Ken Morrow joined us at 6 o'clock, but everyone else was present for the full meeting. Does anybody have any changes or anything they need to say to Dorothy and Kristen? Okay, I make a motion to approve Wednesday, February 16th, 5:30's meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
I'll second. This is Jenny.
Kristen, you want to do roll call?
Yes. Member Pollock,
Yes.
Member Morrow,
yes,
Member Evans,
yes.
Member Searle,
Yes,
Chairperson Cove.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
Okay, we have minutes for a special meeting on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022. Both me and Ken Mora were absent. So I can't officially make a motion, but someone else can.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting on March 3rd.
Now, William McBride is not present to vote, so we can't approve these.
If you have 3 members, you can.
Mhm.
Which we do.
We do.
Okay.
You have a quorum enough for that.
Okay, so Kendra made the motion. Does she get a second?
Second,
I-
Kristen, you-
Go ahead, sorry.
Member Searle,
Yes,
member Pollock,
yes.
member Morrow.
I wasn't
Just
here.
Evans.
He'll be abstaining. Kristen.
Oh, sorry. Member Evans
Yes.
and Chairperson Cove is abstained.
I'm abstaining, yeah? Great. Okay, so, oh my gosh, we have a Thursday, August 12th. Wait a
We
minute,
can't approve those.
what's that?
I was like, can we approve? We don't have anybody here that was at that meeting. So-
Yeah,
No, no.
no,
we
this
also
is-
have the September 2nd people. We can't do that one.
Oh, those are those the ones related to 75 Monroe?
They might be, yeah.
It looks
Okay,
like yes.
those will have to stay waiting.
Okay, but we do have Monday, September 13th, 2021.
There you go.
holy cow.
I know,
That's how we felt.
I wouldn't, I'm not sure I wouldn't remember my name that far away.
We were surprised there was a few that got missed.
okay, make a motion to approve Monday, September 13th. Do I have a second?
I'll
Second,
second.
whatever, yeah,
Roll call, Kristen?
Yep, member Pollock,
yes.
member Evans.
Abstain. I wasn't present at that meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Member Morrow.
What'd we discuss at the meeting?
Look at the
There.
minutes, they're in your packet, Ken.
I don't have access to my packet.
How are you?
It was,
An abstain.
You can abstain.
All right, I'll abstain.
okay.
Chairperson Cove.
Yes.
Okay. Motion passes.
And then we have one more. This is the disregard incorrect date.
Oh,
So this has some updates, it looks like, Kristen, right? This,
that was done before I came, but it looks like in Marina's notes, the date was incorrect.
Right.
So there were 2 sets of notes that Dorothea had updated and those were already approved at a previous meeting.
so it's just the change of the date to 11/8 instead of 11/9?
No, they're the 11/8 minutes she had updated. But in Marina's files, I was going through to see if we were up to date on everything. And I was confused because Marina had the wrong date. So I thought it was a special meeting.
So this one still has to be approved.
No, that's 11/8 was already approved. So those are that's garbage.
All right, so I think we got all of them, is that correct?
Yes.
Good job, Kristen.
All
Thank
right,
you. Nervous.
way to go.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Do we
Thanks,
have
guys.
anybody else who needs to say anything?
You just
Besides
need-
Happy St. Patrick's Day?
You just need a motion to close.
Okay,
I just have a question. So are we meeting on Mondays or Wednesdays now?
Mondays.
Mondays, third
We're-
Monday.
right, we're meeting Monday, but it starts the third Monday next month, is that correct?
It's the 3rd week, the Monday of the 3rd week. So you'll be next month. We anticipate you in person. You'll be back here and we'll do hybrid and we'll go from there.
And it'll be the
Is
third
it
one.
the third full week or the third Monday?
It's the
third
third week.
So
So
that
we have
makes
to be-
it,
Could we have you sent out and I've missed, or could we have a revised schedule?
We'll send the schedule
remainder of
back
the year?
out. We'll send the
Thank you.
schedule back out.
Thank you.
April 18th is the start of break week for those of us with children because it's there's also an Easter holiday on that Monday. And I don't know if we will take that into account when we schedule the meeting.
We
but I
usually
wanted to
do.
bring that up.
We usually move it in a day if that's the case scenario.
Well, I don't think it's just the day. I think it's the whole week. Is that correct? Because I know that I'm gone and Kendra, you've got children, so you might be. So I guess the question would anybody be, would it be okay if we moved it to the week after for that April because of the holiday?
I'll be gone, I think.
Be the fourth, it would be the fourth Monday instead of the third.
How
I
about
could do the
we
second
send
or
out
the
the
fourth.
schedule, and if there's a conflict, we'll
Okay,
contact everybody and get it straight and see
Sounds great.
what the issue is. But we'll
Alright.
get that mailed out tomorrow.
Thank you.
thanks,
Okay?
Kendra.
Can we have the motion to close?
I make a motion to close the meeting tonight. Do I have a second?
So moved. Second.
Kristen, you want to do roll call?
Member Searle,
Yes.
Member Evans,
Yes.
Member Morrow,
Yes,
Member Pollock,
Absolutely.
Chairperson Cove.
Don't be so excited, Jeff. Yes. But I do want to say, this was a great meeting, everyone. I really feel that everybody's voiced their opinions and the reasons why they voted the way they did. I know that this was a tough one. But I really feel that everybody had a very good reason for making the decisions they made. And I just want to thank you guys for all of your input and all of your sincerity. So thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Have a good
See ya.
night.
Good night.
Say goodnight to the board. I'm handing you over to Kristen now. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I know, mommy. Are you waiting for to eat?